So yesterday we were talking about how Tu B'Shvat is really a spiritual holiday. It's not really a religious holiday, but more a spiritual holiday, which gives us a great opportunity to really check how connected we are to our spiritual reality, and maybe to be able to influence the quality of the fruits of the products of our avodah ruchanit in the coming year, because after all, it is the new year for the trees, even though it's -5 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. So we said yesterday that Mishnah says Tu B'Shvat is Rosh Hashanah la'ilanot, and Chazal, and if you pay close attention to the words of Chazal, Chazal did not call it Rosh Hashanah la'ilanot, even though that until the Ari and his Torah came about, Tu B'Shvat was really, as we said from Rashi, was measured as the day or celebrated as the day where the saraf, the essence that is in the tree, started to come up from the root and kind of fill up the tree with the bark, and that's why it was considered to be the beginning of the year in terms of counting the cycle of the tree years, because that's like the livelihood of the tree. So we go by the beginning of the livelihood of the tree. So, I mean, we also might give you some indication regarding the rest of the dates of the Chagim that we call Rosh Hashanah like this. We always start when the beginning of Chayut is, when you started to become alive. That's when we call it the Rosh Hashanah. However, we said that really when we talk about, and we spoke about it again yesterday, it's just like a kind of a continuation from yesterday, taking off where we left yesterday. So when we're talking about Rosh Hashanah La'ilan, we're really talking about the Etz Chaim, and the inner essence of this Chag really, hovers around our connection with what we call Etz Chaim, the tree of life. And that's the tree of life that is mentioned in Sefer Bereshit. ויצמח השם אלוקים מן האדמה כל עץ נחמד למראה וטוב למאכל ועץ החיים בתוך הגן. It says ועץ הדעת טוב ורע, and the tree of knowledge, good and bad. So of course we're not talking about here about a physical tree, and of course what after Adam Rishon ate from Etz Hadar, he would say ויאמר השם אלוקים הן האדם היה כאחד ממנו לדעת טוב ורע, עתה ונשלח ידו ולקח גם מעץ החיים ואכל וחי לעולם. So why is this the concern that Kadosh Baruch Hu had that Adam would eat from Etz HaChaim, and what does it mean exactly Chaye Olam? There's always a problem with this thing. And we could go from here for so many different places, so many different paths, but we'll try to stick to one path and to ask certain questions about this. The Kabbalah teaches us that to achila, to eating, there is a superior purpose, and which is very important. Mekubalim says that in a certain way, you might say that this is the shoresh of all Taryag mitzvot. Of all the 613 mitzvot, everything is really associated with eating. I mean, if we'll see it to a certain way. Because it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put Adam HaRishon in Gan Eden, he placed Adam in Gan Eden to do what? Le'ovda u'leshomra. To work it and to guard it. So the question is asked, in a garden that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself had planted, right? What avodah is there? I mean, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like the best landscaper out there. And if you don't know what I mean, Jelly Bean, go out to nature from time to time. Get out of the city, because the city is one place for sure to corrupt your spiritual understanding and awareness. Go out to nature and see what an unbelievable landscaper God is. There are no two scenes that will be alike. And you guys went to Wyoming, and the other guys went to Montana. You guys went to the desert or Arizona, and it's like rock garden versus, it's crazy. So in the Garden Eden, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had planted, we need Adam HaRishon le'ovda u'leshomra, to what? We need imagine like this. You know, let's say you have this like super Japanese garden, lehavdil, yeah? This super Zen Japanese garden when everything is manicured and so on and so forth. So you go there to, south of the border to the local Home Depot and you think, hombre, hey, I need somebody to clean my garden, you go like this. He's going to be able to maintain this. He's going to ruin it. You need to be like a Zen master to be able to cut the, they cut leaves, not branches, leaves. What they do is crazy. So, and this is between a man, an expert, to just a novice. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to put the Adam HaRishon to clean your garden. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. But Chazal says, le'ovda, these are mitzvot aseh. This has to do with mitzvot aseh. U'leshomra, these are mitzvot lo ta'aseh. In other words, le'ovda u'leshomra includes the whole 613 mitzvot. And of course, in Adam HaRishon, that was completely ruchani, was all a spiritual entity, we were not talking about the mitzvot the way we understand the mitzvot. Of course, it's something completely different than what we do, and that needs to be noticed. Because it says, Michol etz hagan achol tochal, from everything you should eat, no problem. U'mi'etz hadat tov v'ra lo tochal mimeno. Why? Ki b'yom ochlecha mimeno mot tamut. In other words, the whole commandment that he got from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to le'ovda, which is mitzvot aseh, is tochal, achila. And mitzvot lo ta'aseh is not to eat from that particular tree. So you see that all the mitzvot, whether mitzvot aseh or mitzvot lo ta'aseh, were included in the plan that God had to put Adam HaRishon le'ovda u'leshomra. Kol mitzvot aseh were in le'ovda, to eat, achol tochal, ve'leshomra is lo tochal. That's all it is. I don't know about you, but for me it opens a whole new avenue of understanding about every single thing that we do. It's like, sometimes I don't want to get too sidetracked. When people say, the Avot kept all 613 mitzvot. How can they keep 613 mitzvot and they had mitzvot that were not applicable to them? Or they say, even Iruvei Chatzerot, which is like super derabanan. It didn't come out later on. However, now you might understand that sometimes you do certain things and everything is included. It's like you did the whole entire thing. For us, mortals that we are, everything has to be told us, do this, do this, do this, do this, one segment after the other, one segment in order to we don't have this understanding. Adam HaRishon was completely spiritual, so there was not really great need to say a lot. However, you see that everything is associated with achila, with eating. Now, when Adam HaRishon, of course, ruined everything, right? And you could see, of course, that eating perot, right? Eating what he did, he ruined everything. How did he do it? He did it by eating. He ate from Etz Hadat, and because of that, as a result of that eating, the whole creation was messed up. That put a dent in creation. Imagine, for example, you create this beautiful, completely smooth surface, round, smooth surface. That's supposed to go on. You know what? For example, a train. Trains are very efficient because the whole, I think they have 12 wheels, 12 wheels, the train or something like this. Like, it's not an 8-wheeler, it's a 12-wheeler, like a locomotive. The whole weight or the whole size of this whole thing that comes out is something like this big on the rail at one time. And for that, it has to be completely smooth, and the surface has to be perfect. Now, if you're going to make a little dent in the wheel, you're going to throw the whole balance of the whole apparatus. It has to be completely smooth, steel on steel. There's hardly, you know that there is more friction on your finger on glass than that there is on steel. And that's steel on steel. And it's crazy. I mean, if you look at this, it really stands like this, like on an edge, because it's tiny. And that's why train can go so fast. And that's why trains have a problem going uphill. But that's a different story. But so you understand. So everything was included in that, and the whole creation was really messed up. The world is supposed to be all good, all light, kulo or, olam shekulo or. That Gan Eden was broken, and sparks, nitzotzot of light, spread up through all the entire creation, and they fell to this world, which is called Olam HaKlipot, the world of husks. The good and the bad got mixed up together. And that's the mixture of good and bad. That's why, for example, one of the things that were left to us that is good is the Torah. That's why you should not, and we say, Lo'olam lo yaseh adam kardom b'Torah lachbor ba. Never use your own selfishness to promote your own ratzon atzmi, selfish needs, which is Rashi Tevot Ra, to your own self, because what you're doing, you're putting the bad into the good, and that's the only good that is left. And that's why when a person does it, mutav lo shelo ba la'olam, as the Gemara says, it's better that his placenta wrapped around his neck, and he won't come to do such a thing. You're not creating. When you learn the Torah, you create biur. You're assorting, you're separating good and bad. You're banging, and you're making good and bad. Just like a blacksmith when he forges a steel or a knife or a sword, when he bangs and the sparks that come out, those sparks are the imperfections that come out in the process. That's biur and nitzotzot, separating the imperfections out. So you've got to be very, very careful. That's why the Torah has to stay holy. Cannot be any personal agendas when it comes to Torah. So in our world, in our reality, everything is mixed good and bad. Everything has percentages of good and bad in it, and we are not so clear about what exactly good is and what exactly bad is. And that's usually the argument that I use for people not to drink in Purim. But it says you should drink until you're not going to be able to tell who is good and who is bad. Mordechai or Haman. I said we're in that state of confusion altogether all the time. So therefore, there's only to drink. We're always drunk. I mean, in terms of that, I need to add more confusion. No, so that's the thing. But that's for a different time. So, in other words, our reality is very unclear, and the boundaries of our vision are in order to be able to connect ourselves to the good is very, very limited. And it's always has klipa, imperfections in it, and the klipa is ta'ava, desires. Veratzon lekabel, we always want to give. Whenever we always want to get, we don't want to give. It's always what you could do for me, what you could do for me. Let me steal from you, let me get ideas from you, let me steal from you, but I'm never going to generate it out. So that is a chibur lara, that's a connection to the bad. And that's what the Navi says, that Yeshayahu says, Hoya omrim lara tov velatov ra. Aha, for those who say the good is bad and bad is good. Samim choshech leor ve'or lechoshech. They call light darkness, and darkness they call light. Samim mar lematok umatok lemar. They make sweet into bitter and bitter into sweet. It's like, all right. So therefore, if you see that the ikara kilkul of the bria started with achila, therefore we should know that ikara tikkun would start also with eating. If this is what caused the kilkul, this is what will cause or bring about the tikkun itself. That's why there is a whole issue of Seudot Mitzvah and eating in places and saying appropriate brachot. Oh my goodness, if we can just go about this, we can go for weeks on this thing. And you should know that every single thing that needs a social or, everything has sparks of light in it, and we have the job to really separate them from the klipot, from the imperfections. By doing so, we're becoming or reinitiating the fact that we are partners in creation, in shutafim labriya with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because it says in Yeshayahu, also in Isaiah 51, it says, "Ve'le'emor le'Tzion ami ata." And Chazal says, "Al tikra ami ela imi." Don't call my nation, but rather with me. "V'tomer le'Tzion imi ata." You are like with me. You are like me. Shakadosh Baruch Hu tells Am Yisrael, we are in partnership here. This is how you make yourself partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are partners in recreating what we call Gan Eden Mikedem, the original world that was beforehand, bringing back or recreating a reality that is all good. And right now the reality that it's unfortunately not all good. And this is why, you might say it's very difficult to remember all these things every time we're about to eat something. I'm hungry, my stomach is hurting me, and so on and so forth. But yet it's very, very important, and it's very necessary to remember that every time that you're about to put something in your mouth to eat, that ikar ha'achila, the main purpose of that is birur ruchani, is a spiritual assortment, a separation. Now, you understand now when you're eating beta'ava, that you are derived by ta'ava, by desire to eat because it's free or because it's whatever, you are affecting your ability to create that birur, that selection. As a result of that, the food turns into poison inside of you. So if you see a lot and you all of a sudden, you go to a Seudat Mitzvah. So Seudat Mitzvah, everything should be good, right? So you're thinking, not because you want to do the mitzvah, because it's free, man. It's sushi. I'm going to pile like this of sushi, put a couple of steaks on top, and tell the guy in the meat section, hook me up, brother. Slice me up here, slice like this. And I don't know what else they give there. And poppers and all the chicken nuggets they have there, right? Like plates it looks like a cartoon, like 7 layers. They have those hamburgers. Some, everywhere in America, like especially if you go down to where you guys went, they have like this bar that, they have this, they make this deal that if you finish the whole entire burger, you don't pay for it. And they have rules about how much you can eat. You can't go to the bathroom, blah, 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 the whole entire thing. It's like something mammoth like this. You eat it, you die.
Yep.
So when you come to eating about in such a manner, you're not able to do that birur nitzotzot. On the contrary, that all becomes klipa. That all becomes bad. Your body is not able to digest it, and then you become spiritually closed, opaque. That's why people were very chachamim, were very careful with not only how they ate and what they ate, in the amount that they ate as well. You have to understand, you're limited with your body. And usually people who are obsessed with eating will also be obsessed with control. And as a result of lack of control, you can become ruchani, you can become spiritual. I call it ta'ava. It's all desire, it's uncontrolled desire that overwhelms you and makes you tameh. Now, when we eat, for example, kosher food, all the kosher food is food that it is within our spiritual abilities to process. Food that are not kosher is beyond our ability to process it spiritually, and that's what we're all about. So when we eat that and we make a bracha on that, we release that nitzotz that is closed within that food, and we elevate it to a level, because now it becomes a part of me. And I'm a human, and I learn Torah. I'm able to elevate it from the state that he's at to a human level, which is the highest level of existence in this world. Whether if I'm eating vegetables, Or if I'm eating, a cow or whatever it is that I'm eating, I'm elevating it up. Of course, the great elevation will be to eat vegetables, and then you skip them all the way up to a level of a human, from a vegetable to a human. Because there's tzomeach, chai medaber. You want to say something?
Is there any domem that we eat? Is there anything like salt? Would that be considered? Or no? Is that like?
Yeah, maybe domem. Yeah, you eat domem. You eat salt. Yeah, you eat salt. That's about it. Too much salt also would be bad for you, right? It's constricted. So, but you have to remember. So when we elevate a level. However, when we eat achila gasa, we eat without a bracha. That nitzot stays imprisoned within its place, and instead of going up, it goes down, and it brings you down with it. It brings you down with it. And that is, of course, all the machalot asurim that the Torah says, for example, pig or whatever it is, right? It will bring you down. That's what the Ramban says as well, that makes you metamtem et hanefesh. Ma ze metamtem et hanefesh? You don't become stupid with it. Because many smart people eat pig and they eat lobsters and they eat all the other, things like that. And they don't become stupid. However, they become unpenetratedly spiritually unpenetratable. And the same thing goes without a bracha. The first bracha, releases the spark, and then the second bracha achrona, closes the process, finishes the process. That's why it's very important to be makpid on saying bracha achrona. Water will be domem also. So you need to finish this process. You don't know, for example, what neshama was going into the water and you drank it and now you elevate. If we will only be aware of that, if we will only be aware of the little things that we neglect and we always think about the top things, Ribono Shel Olam, this would have been a different world altogether. And as you can see, it starts from food. And I'm going to ask you something. If I'm doing a mitzvah, could I do something else in the middle of the mitzvah? No, I'm doing a mitzvah. So if I'm doing Seudat mitzvah, if you're sitting down and you're doing Seudat mitzvah, let's say there's a Brit Milah, right? People don't see it as a mitzvah. Most people see it as an opportunity to eat free food and to make contacts, to schmooze around. So you have no kavanah in the mitzvah. So become bracha, it becomes a klala. Instead of a bracha, it becomes a klala. And it all starts from food, and as a result of that, you can receive the orot yourself, the lights themselves, and that food become poison to you, physically and spiritually. Like today, we eat so much food, and there's not really much bracha in the food, because, you eat, and it's bad for you, and you're always hungry. Think about that. It's like you're drinking water, and you're never quenching your thirst. You're always thirsty. And it's because we don't pay attention to those little things. That's why I said to you, you cannot compromise on level of kashrut. Yes, it costs you more money. So what? But there's a reason for that. The more kashrut, the higher stands of the kashrut, the better it will be for you in all aspects. And don't blame the rabbi or the Torah. I can't connect it. You can't connect it because what you're doing to yourself. You're spiritually polluted. Spiritually polluted. That's why I don't care what your ethnicity. If there is a place, for example, a wedding hall, that the kashrut there is questionable or compromised, don't eat. Don't eat. There's no such thing as, societal, they'll see that I don't eat, they'll say, that's just excuses for you. That comes from tzaddik klipa inside of you that wants the darkness, that doesn't want to bring about the light. So we have to be very, very careful. On everything that we eat. And that's why once you understand that, you understand it's not a question about keeping Chalav Israel or not keeping Chalav Israel. It's not a question what this posek said or that posek would not say. What's the best kashrut? That's what I'm having. It's 10% more. Let it be 20% more. I don't care. I'll eat less and it would be more. People don't understand that. I'll eat less and it'll be more. It will be healthier for me. I'll give you an example. Take, for example, organic food, right? I really see a great necessity for people to eat organic food. Because if you understand the garbage that goes into the food that penetrates through the walls of your gut, all the chemicals that they put, all the pesticides in the food that penetrates through the walls of your gut and causes cancer and other sickness to you, you prevent a lot of it, not all of it, a lot of it, because sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes, especially in rural areas when they do a lot of pesticide spraying and so on and so forth, those particles will be in the rain that comes down. But you need to eat organic food. Eat something. Eat less. Spend more money, you're right, but eat less and you'll be healthier. Ultimately, it's about your health, isn't it? If you don't believe me or you have a problem with that, it's not a problem. You can go ahead and eat it and I'll talk to you when you guys are going to be in diapers again. However, this time it's not so cute. Right, doctor? You see the people who die from cancer. Are they getting older or are they getting younger? People getting younger and they're getting cancer. Why? It's because of that. It's because of those things. Eat less, eat healthier, eat better. And we'll talk about, for example, maybe talk about eating meat and so on and so forth, Eat meat. You want to eat meat? Not a problem. Eat meat on Shabbat. Shabbat, eat meat. During the week, eat something else. Don't eat meat. The ta'avat basar was really unbelievable. Anyway, so the Mekubalim, when the Mekubalim talk, they talk about branches, right? And the word achila, eating, refers to a receiving of light of Chokhmah, the light of Chokhmah. That pleasure that we all, at least I can speak for myself, all desired. I want to get that switch to say, I know Kung Fu, this, to feel enlightened. That's something that's an unbelievable pleasure. That's the shefa that is really, and by the way, the shefa, that abundance is in everything that there is in front of us. It's in everything that we have. And yes, when we are eating right, we are bringing those nitzotzot, the sparks, and we are collecting more, and then it's like a magnet. More becomes more and more and more. That's why mitzvah goreret mitzvah, ve'avera goreret avera. However, when you're eating achila behemit, when you're eating like an animal, for no purpose and reason besides desire, you disconnect. You have a disconnect. And all of a sudden, you find it hard for you to get up in the morning, put tefillin on. It's hard for you to come to yeshiva and learn. It's hard for you to connect to mitzvot because there's no light in you. And the real secret of Tu B'Shvat is, and that's the ikar, what we're talking about, is about separation of the achila. Birur through achila. In other words, the connection to the light, or, God forbid, the disconnect from the light. And Tu B'Shvat is called Rosh Hashanah La'ilan, that's Etz HaChaim. And we said that Adam HaRishon was kicked out of Gan Eden after the Chet, because we were afraid that he will eat from Etz HaChaim as well. In other words, he's going to connect and receive the great lights before he will be able to be metaken the Etz HaDaat. Before he's going to be able to fix the vessels that he broke, to be able to receive the shefa. The vessels are going to be inadequate for receiving this wealth. And that's what we need to be metaken that. That's what Kadosh Baruch Hu says, that's not going to happen. The tikkun of Etz HaChaim will come after we're going to clean and fix all the kelim, all the vessels that we put dents in it. And that goes through the whole entire year that you have to do so. However, the Mekubalim says that eating on Tu B'Shvat is mamash the tikkun of Etz HaDaat atzmo. You want me to continue, or you want me to? Yeah, you want to continue? You want to stop? Okay. So we spoke yesterday about the gematria of 91. Remember, we said that Shem Hashem, which is 26, and Shem Adnut, which is 65, and that's what we call in the Kabbalah. We call it Yichud, the connection of. And many times you see in the Siddur there is the Yud Ke Vav Ke, and the other Hey on the bottom has the Shem Adnut. So that's the Chibur. The gematria of that is 91. The Mekubalim explained that the Yichud of the Shemot, the connection of the Chibur of the Shemot, it means that there are in the world opposing forces, or there are things that are really opposing one another. Right? And the whole entire world, this is very interesting, I think at least, that the whole entire world is really combined from contradictions. Has opposing forces and attributes to it. And the Pu'ulah of the Yichud is which is the reality of connecting those opposing things together. And it says, Yotzer Or Uvore Choshech, Oseh Shalom Uvore Ra, Ani Hashem Oseh Kol Ele. That's in Yeshayahu, Perek Nehem, Isaiah. Memhei? 45. That's why we have to have those opposing things. That's why we have man, women. We have, and so on and so forth, right? You have to have plus and minus, darkness and light. And you have to have it. So if you want to really lessen the tension between them, you really need to connect them. And we need to connect them by connecting to the koach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that created all of these. And the appropriate connection it does by the Yichud of Hashem, or the names of Hashem, the Yud K, Vav K, and the Shem Adnut, which is the most basic and really highest of all Yichudim that are out there. That Yud Ke Vav Ke is Rachamim and Shem Adnut is Din, and the Chibur together of both of them creates Emunah Shlema. That we need to understand that the Chibur is when you realize that there is only one God, of course, that does those things, and there's no two leaders, there's no Holy Trinity, and there's no nothing. It's just one God. He's the source of all kochot, and He's the source of all peulot, and everything comes from Him and Hashem. That's why you cannot be kadosh. You can only be determined to be kadosh by the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you do not generate kedusha. That's why. How does the Sefer Torah become kadosh? Because I say I write this for the sake of the mitzvah of writing Sefer Torah. That becomes kadosh, but I cannot, make a cup and say, "Oh, this cup is a holy cup because I drank from it." There's no such thing. This cup is a holy cup because a mitzvah was done with it, not because I drank it. There's it's a big concept. In other faiths, in other religion, comes the Baba or the Guru or the he drinks the cup. Oh, that becomes the Holy Grail. That's holy not because he drank from it. He is not God. Only God touches something, makes it holy. Because a mitzvah was done. So for that matter, let's say I have I have a cup that some big rabbi, 6'5", 300 pounds, linebacker, left tackle, whatever rabbi, he bought it. But the enemy spoke it. He bought it. But then I have a cup, there's some simple yid. Pashut, Yehudi, Pashut, Revi'it, it's like holds Revi'it. You can put a whole bottle, that holds a Revi'it. But every Shabbat, this Pashut Yid made a kiddush with this Bekol Kocho, with all his power. Which one should cost more money? The expensive cup that this big rabbi bought but never used? It's a cup. It's no more than a cup. That, if that is a cup, that the Pashut Yud, make mitzvah, then becomes a chetza of kedusha. And that's, of course, should be much more important. The fact that we sometimes run after, this rabbi had this, or this one wore this, that becomes like a chefetz of almost like avodah zarah. We have to be very careful from these things. If it was a kosher mitzvah, and to that matter, any Jew made a mitzvah with it, it becomes a chefetz shel kedusha. And there's no difference between my mitzvah or your mitzvah or the other. Everybody does mitzvah. Only bochen klayot Hashem. Only He knows what's in the heart of a person. Right? Like say, for example, I don't know. Let's say I have shoes that Rav Ovadia bought, and never wore. But in the closet, brand new shoes. Right? Oh, and I have a certificate. These were bought by Rav Ovadia Yosef, was Zecher Tzadik Levaracha. Right? There's shoes, he bought the shoes, I sent them on auction. Whoa! Whoa! How much money? And I have here shoes of some, I don't know, Moshe. Every day he went to shul until there were holes in the shoes. Every day. This guy only did mitzvot. Who's going to buy this? Take and throw it in the garbage. You understand? On the contrary, it should be the other way around. That's just a pair of shoes, and these were shoes that were done for mitzvah. That's the other thing, right? Let's say, for example, take lehavdil. Let's say the glasses that the Chazon Ish wore, and glasses that Elton John wore when he did the ceremony for the Havdil, yeah? When he did the ceremony for Princess not so Tsanua Diana, right? They used to, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Right? Or Elton John, Candle in the Wind, oh, Candle in the Wind, yeah. Right? Of course, Elton John, מה אכפת לי מהחמור, שום משקף זכור הזה. חזון איש, זה חפץ של קדושה, למה? With that, he saw the Torah. He was wearing when we're learning Torah, so that's not mishkafayim, that's chafetz shel kedusha. But we don't work like this, and we need to understand those things. That's in yan of ruchniyut, of putting this all thing together. Connection to being connected to a spiritual reality is really the best way to really reach peace and unity. So therefore, you cannot have peace and unity between two people. The one is really spiritual, he wants to do things lishma, and the other person is selfish, and he does all the things for himself. That cannot never happen. Because it has to be only through that element. Now, the opposing forces really grind one another, and they grind together with them the world. So therefore, if you have even one element of and the biggest problem is selfishness, if you have one element of selfishness regarding what else is going around that will be the dent which will make the whole thing fall apart. If you have 50 shuls in a neighborhood, and kulam osim maaseh shamayim ba'aretz, they mechaber yichudim, and you have one shul that everybody there is selfish, he's going to ruin it for all, because it's opposing one another. The numbers don't make a difference. One is enough to ruin it for all. So, and only through that, when we put this together, and then the spiritual person, Adam Ruchani Megalet Kavayimtza, he reveals the middle path, and that's what we says. Oseh Shalom Bibromav, and that's the chibur to Etz HaChaim, to the tree, which is the most important chibur that we have in Tu B'Shvat, of the unification of these two names, of putting back together. So I don't know, should I skip? Okay, so it says, Ki Adam Etz HaSadeh. A person is like a tree in the field. And the purpose of man is what David HaMelech says, והיה כעץ שתול על פלגי מים, אשר פריה ויתן בעיתו, ועליו לא ייבול, וכל אשר יעשה יצליח. A person should be like a tree that is planted by a brook. It's going to give its fruit, בעיתו, and it's in the right time. And it always is, the leaves don't fall because there's always nutrients and water and so on and so forth. In other words, a person needs to be like a tree that gives fruit. Shekol ma'asav, all his actions are le'ashpa'a ve'letoelet bnei ha'adam. Whatever he does is to benefit others, not yourself. Others, not yourself. if you are selfish and you see the people as an opportunity to promote yourself, you are a pegara. You're bad. You're selfish. You're not going to see perot. Fruits are going to become blessing because that's a perot raim. It's a bad fruit. A man is built from four, on that metaphor, from four different, how do you say yesodot? How do you call it? Elements. Let me just drink coffee. Unlike the Chinese philosophy, we say esh, ruach, mayim, ve'afar. Fire, wind, water, and dirt, earth. So the Rashi Tevot, the first initials of that is Aleph Resh Mem Ayin. Begimatria is Ish, the same Gimatria as Ish. And as much as a man, so is the tree, uses his development with all those four elements. The fire is the heat of the sun that gives it nutrients and so on and so forth. The wind, it's so interesting. You would think, and that's a good lesson to parents and to educators and so on. If you would take, it happened to me, the city planted trees across the street from my neighbor, by my neighbor. So they planted 2 trees by him and 1 tree by another neighbor. So my neighbor, and they planted all the same thing, by Grossman. Huh?
What did they plant?
They planted those flowering cherries. So Grossman took the support that the city put for the trees, he took them out. The other neighbor left it in. The trees by Grossman became so thick and so big, and the other one that had the support was like flimsy like this. It's crazy. They're all the same thing. Why? Because the wind comes and it forces the tree to grow and develop stronger roots. The wind moves the tree, so the tree needs to build itself up. If there's always support, the tree does not see the need to develop deep roots, and then always has a very small trunk, and that tree died, by the way. So you can learn a lot about trees, about how to become a parent as well, also for yourself. So the wind really strengthens the tree that comes and strengthens the tree. The water, this is where the water, when gives nutrients, and the tree work in a very, trees work like towels, right? It should really be the other way around. I mean, tree grows against nature. Gravity pulls you down, the tree takes it and then pumps it all the way out. The concept that water goes is like a towel, one leads the other, right? And it takes the nutrients with the water, and it's like a pump. I mean, do you ever think about, for crying out loud, what is it? There's a pump inside the tree that goes, put the pressure all the way out. You can have a tree like 100 feet tall, and nutrients will reach all the way to the top. It's crazy. It's godly. You also should be like this. Regarding what gravity pulls you down, you should use your godliness inside of you to elevate, to bring the nutrients to be ma'ale yourself, lemala, lemala, lemala. Not down. Like a tree. Bring your nutrients up to become higher and taller, and not to be dragged down. If the tree would not have this ability, that's why if you take the bark out of the tree, all around it, the tree will die. You want to kill a tree?
Except for cork, right?
I'm sorry?
Except
for cork. Kill the tree this way. Peel up all the bark around it, and then it will die, because it would not be able to push the nutrients up. The tree will die. It's so much to learn. And of course, the dirt is where you grow. We need to find a certain middle ground, what we call the sweet spot, is that spot that connects your past, your pain, and your passion. And you need to operate from that spot. We don't have it. So we've been pulled and we operate from any element that we can possible. So for a person, when a person does Maasim Tovim, It does good action. Ushatul al palgemayim. When you are in a yeshiva, you come into yeshiva, you koveitim la Torah. That's the nourishment of the water that comes through you. You are implanted in ruchniyut. Then you make pu'ulot nechonot. And then everything is connected, and everything is connected together and help you to grow and to develop. Then you become ish. Again, Aleph Resh Mem Ayin, the Gematria is ish. And ish in the Gematria is Shevet or Shvat. To show you that everything is connected one to another. As much as a tree grows by taking all the elements, separating, and taking whatever he needs and bring it up, so is a man needs to assort his own path of growth by appropriately using all the elements that really make him. And this is why you have to think about yourself. You have to think about your path. You have to think about where are you going? Where are you going with your life? Don't just live without a purpose. Everything in this world has a purpose. Besides us, that we have the free choice, and then we don't live with a purpose, and we downgrade the whole Pera Yetzirah, and that's why we can't make this world any better. In the Kabbalah, it says the word etz comes from etzah, from advice. In other words, etzah is machshava. The ikara biur naaseh be'olam machshava. You have to really start thinking about what you're doing. And the three differences of level in a person, there's machshava, dibur, u'maaseh. The machshava is the root, thinking is the root, therefore it's mashpia, everything you do. If you are cognitively thinking wrong, all your actions will be fakat, will not be good. If the machshava is that we are connected be'etz hadat tovera, so that you come down to this gashmi world, to this physical world, that everything is contradiction, this is opposing, and so on and so forth. You don't have the level of oseh shalom b'mormav. Oseh shalom b'mormav is understanding that there is difference, but there is room for everything, and everything is needed. As much as there is a left, there is a right, and they're both needed to create a center. That's what defines the center. It's not I'm finding the left, and then I'm finding the right, and then I'm finding this, and I'm finding that, and I'm never going to be in the middle. And that's what happens, for example, in our country, and in the rest of the world, in terms of political. Everybody's trying to outdo the other side instead of creating a middle path for the benefit of everything. That's how society falls apart. By the way, if you want to know why Rome fell, one of the main reasons why Rome fell is because they ate out of control. They used to have food orgies. They were not thinking. So if you are not thinking right, everything falls. Everything falls. If you are davek in the machshava in Etz HaChaim, you really purify this world, and the world becomes better, more spiritual, and so on and so forth. So in Tu B'Shvat, the trees are being determined on the amount of fruit they're going to have, and this is a very, very rare opportunity to really look at the fruits of our thoughts and to be able to change things from their root. Where am I going with this? Is the Sgula of this day today. We have time?
34 days.
And Tu B'Shvat is Rosh Hashanah La'ilan, and therefore all the avodah that should be done from this point on, especially today. Take your time today. Think about where you want to go with your life. In order for you to bear fruit. This is a very big zchut today, to do so. And eating the fruit helps us to connect to different limbs of the trees and so on and so forth. Because Chazal says, "L'chol esev ve'esev," every herb and seed and weed, yesh malach she'omer lo barakeh v'omer lo gedol. Says, "Oh, gedol." In other words, there is a special quality in everything that you eat. The Ramchal says, the Maharchus and Rabbi Chaim Vital says that a little bit of the shoresh haruchani of the perot, and he says that there are three different types of trees in Eretz Israel, and divides them by, as we said yesterday, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah, the world in which create the Etz HaChaim, and this is what we talked about yesterday regarding determining where the klipa is, where the husk is, and where the fruit is, and so on and so forth. In Olam HaYetzirah, for example, there are 10 different types of fruits, Keneged 10 Sferot, and Olam HaYetzirah is the average between Bria and Asiyah, half is good and half is bad. That's why fruit like this are inside the fruit, and they're not edible, because they're not as soft as seeds that are inside the fruit of Bria. For example, as we have here, we said yesterday, olives, dates, and so on and so forth. In Olam HaAsiyah, we have 10 fruits. Again, the 10 sferot is in it, and most of it is bad. That's why in the fruit, everything we eat everything that is inside, and we throw everything outside. And because the klipa of the of the fruit is the barrier between the world of desire and the actual benefit is inside, and it comes to protect the fruit. This is the sod of the Yetzer Hara in the klipa that is dvuka banefesh. And for that is rimonim, egozim, pomegranates, and so on and so forth. And that's why we say kol kvoda bat melech pnima. That's why girls eat that when they make the seder, to protect the girls from whatever is outside. So kol kvoda bat melech pnima. That's a symbolism for that, and so on and so forth. As I said to you before, this is not a religious holiday. It really is a spiritual holiday. And if I just want to finish, because it's taking a little way too long, is that the talking about the less redemption is going to reveal itself in the, and we can see it in the words of Yecheskel when he prophesies on that. Should we say it, Ezekiel? Mm-hmm. And he talks about unity that we all strive, at least hope for, and the future of Am Yisrael. It also makes references to the tree. He says, "V'hi devar Hashem elai le'emor," and Hashem spoke to him, "V'ata ben adam, kach lecha etz echad," take one tree, uchtov alav liYehuda, v'libnei Yisrael chavru. Guys, come together. ולוקח עץ אחד וכתוב עליו ליוסף, עץ אפרים בכל בית ישראל חברו, וקרב אותם אחד על אחד, לך לעץ אחד, again, עץ, one tree, הנה אני לוקח את עץ יוסף, אשר ביד אפרים בשבטי ישראל חברו, ונתתי אותם עליו את עץ יהודה, ועשיתם לעץ אחד, והיו אחד בידי, הנה אני לוקח את בני ישראל מבין הגויים אשר הלכו שם, וקיבצתי אותם מסביב, והבאתי אותם אל אדמתם, ועשיתי אותם לגוי אחד בארץ, בהרי ישראל, ועבדים דוד מולך עליהם, ורועה אחד יהיה לכולם, ומשפטי ילכו, וחוטי ישמורו, ועשו את כולם, וישובו אל הארץ. וחרתי להם ברית שלום, ברית עולם יהיה איתם, ונתיתם והרביתי אותם, ונתתי את מקדשי בתוכם. And you should look at Yecheskel 37, please, and have a wonderful spiritual day and a wonderful spiritual year. ועושה שלום במרומיו וברחמיו, ועושה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen.